Making nutritional changes without much of a plan is a recipe for disaster. But besides going into it with good structure, we also want to make sure that we avoid the errors of people who have done this before us. So in today's video, we are going to go over 3 big mistakes that I see many people making when switching to an autoimmune paleo or AIP style diet. And if you like this topic and have been enjoying the other videos, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and also ring the bell. That way you'll be notified when I make a new video every single Thursday. My name is Dr. Bodle, and I specialize in helping women with Hashimoto's and low thyroid to lose weight and improve their energy naturally. And one of the ways that we do that in my clinic is we utilize nutritional and dietary strategies like AIP. Now in today's video, we are going to focus in, as I said before, on the big mistakes that people make. We're not going to necessarily talk about the details of the diet. But if that is something that you're interested in, you can either check out, I have 2 videos on this, either what's the best diet for Hashimoto's that gets results, or my follow-up video to that, which is best diet for Hashimoto's paleo versus AIP. Additionally, you can check out the links in the description box below where you'll find my free download, which is 109 foods to boost your thyroid and improve your energy, which includes my version of autoimmune paleo. So it'll give you a full list of foods that I do and don't recommend when starting out on these nutritional changes, and it will really help you to get started. But let's jump into the first big mistake, which is not knowing what's included in AIP and also not reading labels. So real quick, for those of you who are unfamiliar with AIP or haven't gotten a chance to check out my other videos, AIP is similar to a paleo style diet in that it removes the most common food allergens from our nutritional plan. And that includes things like grains, dairy, soy, and corn. But where AIP is different from paleo is it then takes things one step further, and it also removes the less common food allergens, things like eggs, nightshade vegetables, and nuts and seeds. Now, if you look up a bunch of examples for AIP, you're going to see some variance between the different lists, and that's okay. The reason for that is because AIP is not black and white. It's not a hard and fast rule. It's just a structure or a framework for us to start from. So if you do see variances from one list to another, just understand that people are going to have specific nuances to their own physiology, and therefore there's going to be particular foods that work well or don't work well with them. However, it can be hard to know which list is best for you. And really, the determining factor for that is just going to come with experience and trial and error. So I recommend that you pick one list, understand everything that's included in it, and use that as your basis. Start with that and make modifications down the line as you start to learn more about how your body works. The reason this is so important is because setting up a framework, even if it's not 100% perfect, gives us some ground rules to be able to judge our health against. If our diet is random, then it's very hard to know what is working for us and what isn't. But if we minimize our variables, have a strict and defined set of foods that we're going to consume, then it's much easier for us to tinker and adjust as needed. So find a list that looks good to you and makes sense, and use it as your guide, especially in the beginning. Because the problem lies in the fact that many people, when starting out these new dietary approaches, only read half the list or maybe don't memorize it completely. When that happens, we are kind of falling back into our old patterns where we are making dietary selections not based off a concrete philosophy. Instead, we're making them on a day-to-day basis, which is not always consistent with what our overall plan is trying to achieve. To make matters worse, if we don't know what's on the list, then we can't be good investigators and actually read our labels. If we're looking at that label and we don't know what foods are or are not included in our current plan, then how can we determine whether or not we should buy that food? We can't. So make sure you're aware of all those little nuances and details, because many times certain foods that we're trying to avoid will sneak their way into these processed foods, and that can really sabotage all the other efforts that we're making. The second big mistake is trying to find AIP compliant replacements for all your favorite foods. Now, my opinion on this may be a little bit different than others, but I really think that when we're getting started with these new nutritional approaches, we really need to use AIP as a tool to reset your health and reestablish some new normals. It shouldn't be about trying to recreate everything else that we used to have in a new and different way. Now, am I saying that somewhere down the line you can't find a good chocolate chip cookie recipe that includes almond flour and coconut flour instead of wheat flour? No, I'm not saying that. And those things are probably better options for you than consuming the traditional cookie. However, I am saying that you should use AIP as a powerful reset, create new, healthy, and enjoyable recipes from those parameters, and then once you start to feel healthier, you can look at making those healthy food swaps down the line. Now, context is always really important in these situations, and I think the idea of healthy food swaps really depends on where you're at in your health journey. But I would love some feedback from you guys, and you can let me know in the comments below if you think that doing some of those food swaps in the beginning is something that's helpful to you and helps you keep sane, or if it's something that you think can kind of throw you off track and disrupt your progress. But I think it's a great discussion to have. I don't necessarily have a strong opinion on it either way, and that's why I think it would be great to hear from some of your guys' personal experience. Now, the last big mistake that we're going to cover today is thinking that AIP is the ultimate solution for weight loss. Now, I know that can sound a little silly, saying that something is the ultimate solution for anything seems a little bit ridiculous, but a lot of people are led to believe this. And in a world where a lot of us are working to get a better handle on our health, we don't want to be confused about the particular aspects of a nutritional approach. If we look at the data and compare ourselves to people living 40 or 50 plus years ago, we have to work much harder to be able to maintain a healthy weight. And one of the reasons for that is because we have a more inflammatory environment that we live in. Therefore, without question, inflammation contributes to a lot of our weight problems in our modern day. And a great way to get a handle on that is by managing the overall inflammatory load in our body. AIP can be a helpful way to do that if we are dealing with food sensitivities or autoimmune issues. But it's not the only factor that can contribute to these things. For example, maybe you work swing shift or feel like you do because you never get consistent and restful sleep. Or maybe you're not very active and getting intentional movement on a daily basis just isn't part of your schedule. Or even you could be following an AIP compliant diet, but because you're making smoothies in the morning with coconut yogurt and a lot of high glycemic or high sugar fruits, you are overdoing it in the amount of calories that you're taking in, and that's contributing to your weight gain. So the point is, there's a lot of other factors here, and although AIP can be valuable for us, again, it's not the only thing that is going to affect our weight. So it's very common for me to be talking with patients in my clinic or to be talking with some of you online, and I will hear things like, hey, I tried AIP, but it didn't really change my weight all that much. I saw a few pounds come off, but it wasn't something that maintained that long term. And I'll inquire a little bit further and they'll say things like, well, yeah, you know what, my fatigue was a lot better, I slept a lot better, I felt like my mental clarity had improved, and I also noticed that my joint pain was very much improved. So this really shows us that yes, the inflammation is being managed well by the autoimmune paleo diet, but we're gonna have to dig a little bit deeper and figure out what are some of those other causes that are involved that are stalling out your weight loss or preventing those long-term gains. Again, and I know I say this all the time, but this is why it's so important to get a comprehensive blood panel and also get a thorough examination, because that allows us to determine your unique characteristics and your unique needs, and therefore we can then plug in support to those specific areas. So one person may see great changes in their weight with AIP, and another person, as we've been discussing, may not. But the differences or the nuances to each one of those people will allow us to determine what additional adjustments have to be made so we can see improvements in all aspects of their health. To recap our 3 big mistakes, the first one is not knowing what is on your autoimmune paleo list. If you don't know what's on the list, you're going to have dietary inconsistencies, and when you look at food labels, you're not going to know which ingredients are going to be supportive to your health and which ingredients are going to sabotage your health. The second mistake is trying to find AIP compliant versions of all of your favorite foods. AIP is not designed to do that. Instead, it's to be used as a tool or a framework to improve your health and identify food sensitivities. Once you do that, then maybe down the line you can start to massage and change those parameters to allow for some of these other modifications. But until we start to see improvements in how you feel, I would recommend not doing that. The last big mistake is thinking that AIP is the ultimate weight loss diet. Can AIP have a profound impact on your weight? Absolutely. But the way that it does that is by managing and by reducing inflammation. If there are other factors contributing to your current weight, then you'll have to attend to those as well to see improvements in those areas. However, that doesn't mean that AIP can't be helpful in other aspects of our health, things like good cognitive function, managing pain levels, improving our digestion, and so on. So, as long as we keep all those things in mind, it will allow us to have much better expectations for what we can see in terms of our health moving forward. As I said at the beginning of the video, if you're looking for more resources regarding autoimmune paleo and you just want a list of foods that are included on it, make sure to check the link in the description box below where you can download my free guide that includes all the foods that I do and don't recommend when starting autoimmune paleo. Additionally, I've included a little bit of the philosophy behind the approach. That way you can understand whether or not this is a decision or nutritional strategy that will work well for you. But other than that, that's all I have for you guys today. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. If you have any questions, you can always leave them in the comments box below, or you can head over to Instagram or Facebook and send me a direct message there. But I hope you guys are having a great day. Hope you're having a wonderful week. My name is Dr. Brad Bodle, and I will see you guys next Thursday.